This is just a quick little video demonstrating a plugin I've written to export faces that are in the 3D modeler SketchUp into SVG format. This is for the shape or origin NC router, and you could also use it for other purposes, obviously. And let me just go ahead and reset this. So what it does is you go ahead and you select a face, you say layout SVG profile, and it writes the profile. It does inner and outer loops, and it just lays them out one after the other. And then after you've done that, you can go ahead and just write the SVG profile. And by default, it writes it into a file named by the model name. So I'll do that. And it's creating these profiles as edges in a separate layer. So you can go ahead and turn off your model layer, and then you just have those edges. And these are grouped, and then each face inside of there is also in its own group. So my plan in the future is to allow you to change the geometry, move things around, or even modify the geometry if you have some special requirement that you aren't representing in your 3D model. So this would let you do a lot of the work for generating these SVG profiles right inside the SketchUp tool. So let's just see what that looks like. So refresh this. So here's that simple test SVG, and that's what it looks like. So that's basically what you'd expect. And just showing something a little more complicated. So I made a funny little box, and it has box joints, and obviously you wouldn't cut this way if you were doing a standard box joint, but you could actually cut this profile like this as long as you then used a router to round over the actual tongues that are going in, which might be a perfectly reasonable thing to do with the origin. But anyways, one thing I can't do is I can't just click here because this is a group. So, as is typical with SketchUp, you would often be making these groups or components. So you have to get into the component or group to select the face that you want. So I do that, and then come in here and select that one. And so it's basically just transforming each of these faces into the z equals 0 plane. And putting it in its own layer. And then once you've done all that, um, it is doing the calculations necessary to convert SketchUp's own representation of arcs into the SVG representation. And once again, you know, this isn't the way you would probably model things, depending on what you're doing, because uh, with these tongues coming out, if I cut along this line, then I'm not going to have any material to make these tongues after I do that. So again, you for something like this, you're going to have to actually pay attention to what you're doing and maybe go in and modify these so that you still have material to do a second cut to put those tongues in. It might be appropriate to go in and take this face and generate a profile for it. And so that's done that. And this right now, the tool basically assumes that you have a material size of 24 inches by 24 inches. And so it'll lay things out, repeating and then moving along if you need more material. So it won't just keep on going in a line. Anyway, so I've done that, and now I can go ahead and write the SVG profile. So again, it's writing this funny box SVG, and I save that, and I come back over here, and now it's created that one, and I look at that, and it is about what you'd expect. Once again, I can zoom out, And you see it has the the different SVG representations of those different faces. And again, I can zoom in a lot, and you can see that these arcs are actually represented as arcs, and I can show that a little differently by just viewing the page source, which is just showing the actual SVG file. And once again, here you see that there's a path here, and this is the SVG representation of an arc. So anyways, just what you'd expect. And then just to show a final thing, this is something I did as I was testing this. I just wanted to make sure that the tool didn't have I didn't have any math errors, and so I did a bunch of different shapes with ellipses and partial arcs and different orientations. And so I can just select all of these because these aren't in group. So I can just do that. I can select them all and go ahead and turn off this layer. And so you see, it laid them all out on, a representational 24 by 24 inch piece of material. And once again, it's like if you wanted to, move these around in the future, I'll actually support, paying attention to those changes to this group. But like I said, right now that's not happening. And so you go ahead and you select them, and then you say right, and we say right, and again you come over here and look at what's gotten generated, and there's the test faces, and there they all are. And so that's basically it. My plan right now is to make this plugin available through the extension warehouse at Sketchup. I need to do a little bit of work to get that ready. Originally, I reached out to the Shaper folks because I wanted them to just make it available as part of their support for different design tools. And so far, I haven't heard from them, and that may change. If that's the case, then I think that'll be better because it'll be easier to make iterations, and they're making it available, and you can have some sort of confidence that it's a valid tool. But anyways, that's it. I hope you find the video interesting, and stay tuned for making the plugin available.